freedom continues with our time. I'm Mikhail Baranov in the studio. For the next half hour, we'll talk about the main events of the day and the key topics at the start of the week. Hello! A UN Security Council meeting on the Ukrainian issue has begun in New York, with President Volodymyr Zelenskyy also taking part. Also today, as part of the General Assembly, there will be a session of the International Coalition for the Return of Ukrainian Children Abducted by Russia, with the participation of First Lady Olena Zelenska. According to the schedule of the Ukrainian leader's stay in New York, a meeting with US President Donald Trump is planned for around 8 p.m. Kyiv time. Also today, Volodymyr Zelenskyy is scheduled to hold talks with the representative, the President of the General Assembly Annalena Baerbock, as well as the Presidents of Switzerland, Brazil, Mozambique, and the Crown Prince of Spain. Tomorrow, the head of the Ukrainian state will address world leaders from the main podium of the UN. NATO has accused the Russian Federation of escalation and threatened a decisive response. This was stated in a declaration published on the alliance's website following a meeting convened at Estonia's request due to the violation of its airspace by 3 Russian fighter jets. It is reported that the military aircraft were in the country's airspace for approximately 12 minutes. In response, NATO scrambled Allied interceptor jets. The alliance described this violation as part of a broader pattern of provocative behavior by Russia.
Russia bears full responsibility for its actions, which are escalatory, risk miscalculation, and endanger people's lives. They must stop. NATO's response to Russia's reckless actions will be tough. Russia should have no doubt NATO and its allies will use all necessary means for self-defense and to deter threats. Our commitment to Article 5 is unwavering. From the statement of the NATO Council regarding recent airspace violations by Russia.
Our special correspondent for Freedom TV in Europe, Vitaly Sizov, was following the meeting at NATO headquarters. He is now live with us in the studio and will share more details about the session. Vitaly, good afternoon. Please, the floor is yours. Tell us what information you were able to find out.
Mikhail, good afternoon. I would especially like to emphasize that in this statement, the alliance points out that Russia's reckless actions will not force NATO allies to abandon their ongoing commitments to support Ukraine, whose security also contributes to the security of the alliance. And the allies will continue to assist in the implementation of Ukraine's inalienable right to self-defense, as the alliance emphasized, against Russia's brutal and completely unprovoked war of aggression. This is especially emphasized in the statement of the North Atlantic Council, which was convened in accordance with Article 4 of the Alliance's Charter after the violation of Estonian airspace. Let me remind you that this is the format in which the North Atlantic Alliance usually involves ambassadors, when it is not held in the format of a meeting of foreign or defense ministers, or, in exceptional cases, in the format of heads of state. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte provided more details about the course of the meeting.
We do not want Russia to continue moving in this dangerous direction, whether intentionally or not, but we are ready and willing to keep defending every inch of Allied territory. Our pilots are acting exactly as they were trained to when there is a potential threat of incursion.
And NATO believes that the incursion is part of a broader pattern of increasingly reckless behavior by Russia. Several NATO member countries, including Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Norway, and Romania, have already experienced airspace violations, just as Poland did during the most significant mass airspace breach. On September 10th, about 20 drones violated its airspace. The alliance believes that Russia bears full responsibility for these actions, which lead to escalation and could even put people's lives at risk. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte reminded that on September 12th, the alliance launched Operation Eastern Sentinel to strengthen NATO's positions along the entire eastern flank of the alliance. In addition, other military exercises are taking place in Northern Europe aimed at deterrence, including against Russia.
The Allies are also continuing exercises to ensure our readiness for any possible threats. Even now, the world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, is nearby and conducting maneuvers with allies across the continent, strengthening our ability to operate together in different areas and over long distances. These long-planned defensive exercises, unrelated to current events, are extremely important for our readiness and our ability to fulfill NATO's purpose, to deter and defend. And that's exactly what we will continue to do, calmly and resolutely.
Mark Rutte did not give a direct answer as to whether all Russian aircraft violating the alliance's airspace would be shot down. According to him, each case is assessed individually. He also added that this time, the violating aircraft were under NATO forces' control and did not pose an immediate threat.
The decision on whether to open fire on violating aircraft is made in real time and is always based on the available intelligence about the threat posed by the aircraft, including questions we need to answer, such as its intentions, armament, and the potential risk to Allied forces, civilians, or infrastructure. And as I already mentioned, our Supreme Allied Commander of NATO's joint forces has full authority and responsibility, as well as all available capabilities. During the most recent airspace violation, which we discussed today in Estonia, Alliance forces promptly intercepted and escorted the aircraft, preventing any escalation since there was no immediate threat.
According to the head of NATO, Swedish, Finnish, and Italian pilots responded to the Russian incursion into Estonian airspace. He also commented on the recent incident in Denmark. For now, Rutte does not link today's disruption at Copenhagen airport to Russian actions, but according to his information, all the details of this incident are still being determined.
I just spoke on the phone with the Prime Minister of Denmark. Of course, there is now talk about 3 large drones that cause serious disruptions in Denmark's airspace, including at the capital's airport. Right now, the Danes are carefully assessing what happened to understand who is behind it.
It's worth noting that in the statement from the North Atlantic Alliance, this was specifically highlighted, literally at the end. This is like a concluding remark. Specifically, that the alliance will continue to support Ukraine. This means that the alliance understands the real purpose behind the ongoing violations of airspace and correctly sees them as attempts to pressure the alliance and its individual members in order to somehow influence military aid to Ukraine. And the alliance emphasizes and sends signals to Moscow that this will not happen and that its true intentions are clear. Mikhail?
Yes, colleague, thank you very much for the detailed information. We were joined live by Vitaly Sizov, special correspondent for Freedom TV channel in Europe. He spoke about an important meeting at NATO headquarters in Brussels. And now to other important topics of the day. Overnight into Tuesday, the Russian army launched 115 drones at Ukraine, as well as 3 Iskander ballistic missiles. According to the Ukrainian Air Force, the defenders of Ukraine's skies neutralized 103 drones of various types in the north, south, and east of the country. The aerial attack was repelled by aviation, anti-aircraft missile troops, electronic warfare, and drone units, as well as mobile fire groups of the Ukrainian Defense Forces. In the Odessa region, as a result of the Russian attack, 1 person was killed and at least 3 others were injured. The invaders struck the Bilhorod-Dnystrotsky district with ballistic and other missiles. A resort, as well as the buildings of a hotel, Ukrtelecom, Ukrpochta, the House of Culture, the Administrative Services Center, and several cars were damaged. Market stalls caught fire. Rescuers quickly put out the fire. Donetsk region also came under fire. Russian Federation troops carried out an airstrike on Drushkivka. A bomb exploded in one of the city's residential neighborhoods. 4 civilians were injured. Apartment buildings were damaged, several cars burned, and power lines were cut.
It was a 255th KAB. About 10 houses are left without windows. Around 1,000 windows need to be replaced. As of now, 4 people have been injured. These are eye injuries and shrapnel wounds to the face suffered by a married couple in their own apartment.
The Russian army continues to attack Zaporizhia. During the day, they reportedly carried out 5 drone strikes. As a result, warehouses and vehicles were damaged. It is known that 1 person was killed and 7 were injured. That same night, Russian forces attacked the city with aerial bombs. 1 civilian was killed. Rescuers found his body in the ruins of his own private house. The explosions also damaged more than a dozen neighboring houses. Our report covers the aftermath of the bombing.
The explosion of the aerial bomb damaged Angelina's garage and house. At that time, the woman's grandfather was inside the house.
The second floor, the first floor, everything in the house was damaged, except for the 1 bedroom where Grandpa was sleeping. The most important thing is that Grandpa is alive and well.
The aerial bomb also completely destroyed the neighboring house. The building was engulfed in flames. Rescuers found the body of a 49-year-old man under the rubble.
Easy, easy.
As soon as the air raid alert was lifted, the homeowners began clearing the debris, gathering whatever belongings survived. Now, Dmitry says they'll have to find a place to store the things that are left. His house, which was near the epicenter of the explosion, is now in critical condition. There are no doors or windows, and the walls could collapse at any moment.
Well, there you have it now. These are the consequences. The house is 100% uninhabitable. I'll take out whatever I can, try to save something. But what else can I do? It just needs to be demolished. You can see it for yourself.
According to the Regional Military Administration, during the night attack, Russian forces dropped at least 6 aerial bombs on Zaporizhia. Law enforcement is treating this as a war crime. The investigation is being handled by the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU. Ola Prydakin, Boris Yakovenko reporting from Zaporizhia for Freedom TV channel.
Over the past day, Ukraine's defense forces eliminated another 1,010 Russian servicemen, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. As a result, the total losses of the Russian army have exceeded 1,103,500 soldiers. In addition, over the past day, 5 tanks, 53 artillery systems, 2 multiple rocket launchers, 2 airplanes, 1 helicopter, and 123 units of enemy motor vehicles were destroyed. In total, 180 combat engagements were recorded on the front over the past day, and, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a third of them took place in the Pokrovsk direction. In the Novopodlivka sector, the Russians launched assaults more than 30 times. The situation also remains difficult in the Lyman and Toretsk sectors of the front, where 20 enemy attacks were recorded in each. Military experts note the successes of the Ukrainian defense forces in the Dobropilya and Pokrovsk directions, where several settlements have been liberated.
Pankivka is actually located right on the salient of the Russian incursion into Ukrainian defenses. In other words, the Ukrainian defense forces are aiming to cut off the salient with counterattacks. In the Pokrovsk direction, the Ukrainian defense forces have successfully deoccupied Novo Economicno. These are significant tactical successes for our defenders. It is precisely these successes that allow us to say that the Ukrainian defense forces have essentially broken not just the military, but also the political component of the summer campaign.
Estonia is ready to host British nuclear weapons on its territory. This was stated by the country's defense minister, Hanno Pevkur, against the backdrop of a recent violation of Estonian airspace by Russian fighter jets. Responding to journalists' questions about Tallinn's readiness to host NATO allied troops, including aircraft capable of carrying nuclear bombs, Pevkur said that Estonia's doors are always open. Last night, the airspace over airports in Denmark and Norway was closed due to the appearance of unidentified drones. Several flights were cancelled, and others were redirected. According to Copenhagen police, we're talking about 2 or 3 large drones that could have come from a long distance. A similar scenario played out in Norway. Flights from Oslo were first delayed, and later the airport's operations were halted. Flights resumed in both countries this morning, after the drones had left. Due to the illegal flights, police detained 2 people. Law enforcement in Oslo and Copenhagen are working to determine whether these 2 incidents are connected. In Denmark, by the way, they do not rule out that the drone over Copenhagen airport was a provocation by the Russian Federation. The country's Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, noted that she cannot rule out Moscow's involvement and that the situation should be considered in a broader context. According to Frederiksen, the possible goal of the Kremlin is to stir up unrest, see how far they can go, and test Denmark's boundaries.
I absolutely cannot rule out that it was Russia. We've seen drones over Poland that shouldn't have been there. We've seen activity in Romania and violations of Estonian airspace. We saw a cyber attack on European airports last weekend, and now drones in Denmark and Norway. Therefore, I can't say anything else except that, in my opinion, this is a serious attack on Denmark's critical infrastructure.
Subscribe to The Gaze and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukrainian all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.